Hello, and welcome back to Center Webcast. My name is Gerald Smith. Welcome. This is episode 21. I have a pretty packed agenda today for guests. I am excited to welcome back Sherene Hess, Indiana County Commissioner, to talk about our current numbers and in terms of what does yellow mean, what's moving in from the COVID-19. I also have David Janusek from Blairsville Borough Council, also Executive Director of the Evergreen Boys and Girls Club of Indiana County. Also, Linda Mitchel has come back from downtown Indiana to talk about, again, what yellow is going to look like. We have Tony DeLoretto, owner of Spaghetti Benders, and I would say local hero extraordinaire, just back to tell us what yellow is going to look like for him. And also from the YMCA, Bryant Pinder has joined us to talk about what does it mean for yellow in terms of the YMCA and other exercise places like that. The mission for the Center for Community Growth is to lead individuals and organizations in and around Indiana County, advancing social, racial, gender, LGBTQIA, economic, and environmental justice. The COVID-19 Indiana County is a regular broadcast designed to keep you informed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Our guests have included elected and appointed community leaders, folks in nonprofits, and service industry, small businesses, local heroes doing incredible work in the community to make sure no one falls through the cracks. Don't miss we have a huge bank of interviews on our YouTube page. Subscribe. We've got folks from Senator Casey, small businesses again, to the folks printing out masks and face shields from here to California. We're hoping this remotely produced broadcast will continue to help you understand what this pandemic is meaning for you and the Indiana community. We come at you on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. and then we do some rebroadcasts on Sundays at 2. We're hoping to change up our format a little bit, so if people are interested in thinking about what that might mean, and if you want to get involved there, that would be fantastic. Let's move right into it. Oh, sorry, I am again joined by Dr. Silva Moore, as usual, our co-host, and today special help from Quintina Thomas, who has been kind of like our producer as well, and she's helping with the engineering, and she's going to be sharing things for us. So let's get right to it. Sherene, are you there? Hello, Sherene, are you there?
Yeah, can you not hear me?
I can now. Fantastic. Hello? Yes.
Okay, good.
Back,
hello.
Welcome back, Indiana County Commissioner Sherene Hess. I was wondering if you could, first of all, if you can give us some update on kind of numbers. Lots of times you give us kind of the update on numbers of COVID infections here in the county and kind of what those mean. And then maybe you can tell us a little bit about what yellow is going to mean from your perspective at the county there.
Sure thing. So our numbers are as follows. Unfortunately, we had another 4 positive cases in the last 24 hours. Now, we're not alarmed about that because we're still well under the threshold of 50 cases within the past 14 days, an average of 50 cases per 100,000. We're well below that. As a metric, that's all. It's okay. We have had no more deaths, thankfully. And of course, it's any death is tragic, and our hearts go out to the families. But thankfully, we're remaining pretty stable on that. As far as the hospital goes, there's 5 ICU beds available at this time. 22 ventilators are still available. That indicates to me that there's no COVID cases using ventilators right now. That's what I can deduce from the numbers. Of the total numbers in Indiana, there are 4 nursing homes, long-term care facilities, where we're finding about 13 of those cases that are active now. Of that, that's where 4 of those 5 deaths happened. And 1 death was from an outside source. So we need to remind ourselves that it is in the community. It is not just something that's occurring within our long-term care facilities. But we're a very rural county. We have strong partnerships with our healthcare community. Our congregate care facilities are all doing a very good job at addressing if an outbreak would happen. They have all sorts of protocols and so on ready to go. And I think we can safely say that we have our social distancing, our mitigation measures have by and large been fairly effective. And that is why we are being permitted to go to the yellow stage. Now, does that mean we flip a switch and everybody goes back to normal, whatever that meant? No, that does not mean that at all. We must be very vigilant, and that is something that the commissioners and a bunch of partners, we're developing our task force. We are going to tell the community that we work in congregate care settings still, must promote telework if they can, wherever it's feasible. There is business guidance that our businesses must follow. Child care facilities have special guidance for them to open. Schools are going to remain closed, for the time being, and it remains to be seen what's going to happen in the fall. But the stay-at-home restrictions have been lifted. That's a good thing, but no large gatherings more than 25 are permitted. We're going to see some in-person retail that's going to be allowable, but the restaurants will still be offering curbside and delivery for their operations. We're seeing that your indoor recreation, health and wellness facilities, entertainment, casinos, theaters, that sort of thing, are going to remain closed. So that's just a general overview of the yellow, what happens in the yellow phase. But it's our aim to have a very successful yellow phase so that we do not go back to red, but rather we go forward to green. So that's where we are in the county.
So when that happens, I guess tomorrow. What does that look like for then moving on? To green, I guess. Are there continued metrics? Thinking about that?
That's a really good question, and we don't have anything very super specific. Guidance is happening all the time, and it's a little bit exasperating that everything seems to be changing. But in my mind, it's changing. It's evolving, is what it's doing, and we're getting better at knowing what the metrics are, what is meaningful, what's not meaningful. There's going to be two things that we're really going to have to work hard on, and that's contact tracing and testing, expanded testing. And the state has made great strides in both of those things. I think people have heard about the civilian coronavirus corps, which is going to, set up some contact tracing teams, both paid individuals and also a volunteer kind of a arrangement. So, and the testing is being expanded as we speak. Indiana County we still are at 2 sites, I believe, the IRMC and the Med Express, but these are things that are going to evolve, and they must. Testing is the only way you will know if we're really containing the infection rate.
Do you know, is there more testing happening now? I guess we've talked every week or so. Have we seen a ramp up in testing happening here in the county?
No, and the reason is because, and this is the positive part. The reason is mostly because people aren't requesting it. Physicians aren't requesting it because they're not seeing people with symptoms. Now, the flip side of that is there may be lots of asymptomatic people walking around. So it's a two-sided coin.
Right.
But as of right now, we're probably doing fewer than 20 tests a day in Indiana.
Is it the hope to ramp that up despite the fact, it seems like the best advice that I've been hearing is like you said, a lot of contact tracing and a lot of testing. Is it the hope to ramp that number up considerably from 20 a day to testing people who are asymptomatic? Sorry.
Asymptomatic, yeah. I think that is the case. We don't have any specific guidance on how that's going to happen. But hopefully in the next very near future, our healthcare partners we're going to be talking with them and try to learn what they think is the best a way to go forward on that.
Okay.
Because it is you need the item, reagents and chemicals and so on to do this. So it's not like, there is a certain amount of resources needed to do it.
Yeah, we had I guess folks from IRMC talking about their project, and it sounded like one of the reasons they weren't hitting the kind of numbers in terms of testing that were advertised in the newspaper was because they're able to process up to say 200 a day, but they don't have the reagents to actually do the tests of that many that number per day. And it sounds like they're not being requested through policy. For folks who are concerned that this is maybe moving fast, there's been I guess the first question, when we last spoke, we were still in the red, and there was a significant amount of lobbying that we saw from folks that we've had as guests here, Senator Pittman and Representative Struzzi, to put us in the yellow zone. Do you know about that? Any of that efforts to communicate with the governor's office, and should we continue to expect to be kind of treated as a county level and not necessarily as a zone?
My sense is, well, we don't have, to be truthful, we don't have a lot of guidance on that. I mean, I think they're being purposely, they don't know. I mean, as we all have heard Dr. Fauci say, the virus sets the timeline. Our EMA director, Tom Stutzman, says the virus sets the timeline. So we can only work with the knowledge that we have right now. So I guess that's my answer as far as that goes. Now, we do feel, like I mentioned those metrics in the beginning, we're well below the 50 per 100,000 cases on a 14-day average. We are rural. We have strong partnerships with our healthcare. Our healthcare system has not been overloaded, and it would appear that we have plenty of capacity. Now, we have to keep watching. Our testing is not robust enough, but it could be. I mean, I think there's a good sense that if it needed to be ramped up, it could. Mm-hmm. So there is a general feeling that, cautiously optimistic that the mitigation measures have done what they were supposed to do. That does not mean that people cannot go, that they can just go back to not wearing masks or social distancing and that sort of thing. We need to be vigilant. We need to do the social distancing, wear our masks, wash our hands, stay home when we're sick, and, generally be very vigilant.
All right. I think that message is important. I think we are still in sort of it's a yellow phase. There's still folks who are vulnerable out there in the community that need us to be cautious. Is there anything else you want to leave us with before you go?
I think that was it. I'm just excited about this coronavirus core. So if you know anybody who's interested in either possibly a paid position, I don't know what the qualifications are, but are needed, or as a volunteer. I mean, this is a great way to get involved, and it's the website for the state is serv.pa, serv.pa.gov, serv.pa.gov. Yep.
So this is the Corona Conservation Corps of folks that are going to be doing this contact tracing, which is the physical work of finding out who ends up testing positive, interviewing that positively tested person, and find out who they've interacted with over the past, say, 14 days, and then calling those people on the phone. And is that right?
Yeah, you got it. That's pretty much what it is. It's not super difficult work, but takes time, and but there's training available, and so yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's meant to trace the individuals that have come into contact with somebody who's presenting symptoms or is tested positive.
And that's available. Those are jobs going to be available like right now, right? Like.
Yeah, I believe that's true. I don't have the exact date, but as I was saying, serv.pa.gov is the website I have right now.
That's fantastic. We'll get that.
But yeah, I mean, that is the main thing right now, is to get that going.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again. And we hope to have you back maybe even like a week and touch base and see what's happening.
Happy to do it. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And we're going to come right back. This is Center Webcast. My name's Gerald Smith. Next up, we're going to talk to Dave Janusek, Borough of Blairsville counselor. Dave also has a deep history here closer in Indiana with downtown Indiana. And we also love Dave, even though he's down there in Blairsville. It's part of the county and part of what we've had feedback here at the show is, hey, you guys are completely focused on 15701. Let's find out. Let's hear from what's happening outside sort of the center of the county. And so, Dave, are you there?
I am, Gerald. Let me unmute myself.
Awesome.
I'm muted.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you totally for joining us. So can you tell me just sort of overall? I know you're on Blairsville Council. How has Blairsville been weathering this pandemic? Have you been seeing the same kind of case levels that we've been seeing around here? Can you kind of tell us generally how you guys have been responding?
Sure. First, I do want to thank the Community Center for Community Growth for this sort of platform. I also want to thank you for inviting me to represent 717 with you guys. So I do appreciate that. To kind of talk a little bit, with Sherene, of those cases, 20 cases are here in the Blairsville area. But I think, with the nature of a virus, you've got to look at your population density. And I think Blairsville's, a little bit more dense populace than some of the other areas. So I think that accounts for some of those numbers. You phrased that in a way that, Blairsville weathering the storm. And I can tell you that the thing that has impressed me the most, and a lot to do with our business district, is that our businesses seem to have really weathered the storm. I've seen a lot of businesses that have gone online that weren't online before. Places like Lamania Produce now has opened up their operations to the general public. There's been a lot of adapting. I think that's what the virus has taught us. You've got to adapt to survive. I'll give you a perfect example. The other day, I went to get my contacts at Dunlop Eye Care, Family Eye Care. Their building is an old bank. Well, they started to use the old drive-through to service customers. So that's innovation at its finest. We do here in our household try to support a lot of local businesses by getting takeout. And I find many times that I'm still waiting 40 minutes to an hour to get takeout. That's a good sign. I never complain when you have to wait in a situation like this. So I think, that a lot of our retailers, our restaurants have decided, they've got to go online. They've got to do curbside. You have two choices to survive, either, close the shutters and lock up or adapt. Very impressed that that's happened. Also impressed a lot by the people of Blairsville. The parks have been closed. The rec center is closed. People are respecting that. We're not having to call the police out to say, hey, you can't be, in the parks. So that's a shout out to the residents that they understand the virus and they're doing their part. So as far as weathering the storm, I can tell you that Blairsville, as from the borough side, all of the counselors and the mayor have donated their stipends back for the next 3 months to help the borough. We have no furloughs, we have no layoffs. Projects that were on the books are still, proceeding as needed. Some of the larger projects, as a borough councilor, you kind of look at those and say, are they absolutely needed now? So I think we're weathering the storm pretty well. I'm very impressed, by the citizens coming together and the businesses deciding that, we're not going to close up. We're going to find ways. So we're actually seeing new retail business opening up. So this is all good things during a pandemic such as this.
Yeah. So, you mentioned we think a lot, have a similar sort of thought process in terms of being on Indiana Borough and thinking about what are the opportunities. Are there? Do you think leading out of sort of this period of closure and folks needing to be innovative, do you think there are opportunities for Blairsville for kind of economic development, kind of based on some of this? Well, we need to be innovative. If you think, do you see any of that kind of continuing on beyond the pandemic to, for Blairsville development?
Right. I think that is there, Jared. Like I mentioned, with Lemania Produce, you could never go into Lemania Produce and buy a dozen pear or apples or so on. They have adapted to now being open to the public. Are there plans to continue open to the public and to provide, for restaurants and others? I would hope so. I kind of like the idea of curbside takeout. If that's an addition to some of the restaurants, that also is is a plus coming out of it. Like I said, we're finding ways to adapt. My eye care place, using the drive-through. Boy, I'd love to be able to just go and get my contacts when I need them through a drive-through without having to wait in line, while he's seeing other patients. So I would hope that the successful adaptations will continue as we come out of the pandemic and go into the green zone or green phase.
So the other thing we've been really noticed around here, and I'm sure is impacted in Blairsville as well, but maybe you could talk a little bit about it, is some of the instances of the community coming together. Like you said, some of these businesses changing practices, making sure that folks have what they need in terms of social services or food insecurity or shelter insecurity. I know there's the Blairsville Community Bulletin Board that I just recently joined, and it seems like a really a rich community where folks are sort of looking after each other. Have you seen that kind of aspect within the community of really people coming together and taking care of each other?
Yeah, and I think it's across the board of Indiana County, but I've seen it here in Blairsville. A lot of us have found, a lot of citizens or people from the outside have discovered the Blairsville Trail, the Blairsville Riverside Trail. When I go on the Blairsville Riverside Trail, you would think with more people using it, you'd find more trash. That's not the case. People are respecting, the natural resources that they've discovered. When I walk the Blairsville River Trail, people take that 6-foot distance. They don't, want to put anybody in harm's way. So we've seen it even with the school districts, doing different things for the seniors, the adopt a seniors, the yard signs. So that kind of makes you feel a little bit more positive that, we're going to get through this and we're going to be a better community, as I'm sure all of Indiana County is going to be when we get to the green and then beyond.
Yeah. What does reopening look like for you? I'd say from Blairsville Borough, are you thinking about sort of reopening plans? What does that look like for you guys at your table?
We'll follow what CDC and what the governor has to say. I can tell you that there's been no cases of any of the businesses, opening up and saying, I'm opening up no matter what. I mean, I can tell you, the dentist, the East Street dentist, they're just doing emergency surgeries. That's under the ramifications of what the governor says. The Sheets is open under the ramifications of what the guidelines are. So I don't see any of that happening where there's some frustration, don't get me wrong, but it's good to see, believe me, my takeout diet has increased with more variety from some of the places that have just opened here in Blairsville.
So let me get to my last question. So can I shift a little bit? I know you also wear another hat. You're at Evergreen Boys and Girls Club that does great work all over the county in terms of helping kids in need. How has your organization shifted? And are you looking at reopening? What's the summer and fall programming look like for you?
Yeah, let me tell you where we stand. I appreciate the opportunity. We are Evergreen After School Club. We dropped the Boys and Girls Club moniker a little while ago, but nonetheless, again, we are following what the Pennsylvania Department of Education says we can do. I can tell you right now, as of March 13th, when we had to change gears again and adapt, we went online. We, bolstered our Facebook Lives. My directors go on twice a week to do a chat one day and then a STEM or an activity or reading the other day. We also have once a week, we do homework help for a half hour on Thursdays from 2 to 2:30. That's open to any child or any parent that has homework questions on our Facebook Live, on our Facebook Live and Zoom meetings. We mail out, email out a packet, 3 packets a week for K to 2, 3 to 6, and 6+ that have activities that would supplement what a child would be learning in school. So right now we're doing a lot of what we can do online. As of Monday, when we go green, we will start to have live meetings, no longer virtual meetings with the administrators, to come up with a plan that we will submit to the Department of Education by the 22nd. They will approve that plan. What we look to do is do a hybrid plan while in the yellow zone, continue with what we're already doing virtually, and then enhance those activities to keep kids engaged. And then when we go green, we hope to go live face-to-face back at our sites in the 6 different districts that we service, amongst the restrictions, once again, of what the CDC feels to be safe. So again, it's transitioning. We could have closed up shop and said, look, let's all take unemployment. We decided that we had over 1,000 members in Indiana County that need served in some way, including those parents that, wish the kids had something to do or something to, connect into during the day. So, a lot of our stuff is being shared on other websites as far as throughout the county. So we're again, adapting and hoping to see that transition to green, because we honestly feel that part of our criteria and our curriculum is always to show that social recreation. And although this is a great adaptation, nothing can replace that face-to-face social recreation with the kids and with the adults. So we're transitioning. Continue to watch our Facebook page and our website for updates. Within the next several weeks, we'll have that transition plan.
Cool. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with that we didn't ask you about, either from perspective of Blairsville or Evergreen?
No, like I said, I just want to thank you guys for providing this platform. I think it's real important in this time whenever, again, people have changed how they get their information.
Yeah. It's a new thing. There's a lot of Facebook happening. Facebook Live is happening. Well, thanks so much for. Will you come back again?
Will I come back again?
Will you come back?
Sure, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, we'll try to get some businesses down from Blairsville and see what's going on down there. Thank you so much, David Janusek.
Thanks for having me.
And welcome back. And I think we're right over to Sybil, who's going to be talking with Linda.
I think your mic is muted.
Oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. COVID-19. This is the 22nd edition of our show. We have Linda Mitchell from downtown Indiana. Linda, are you there?
I am here.
How are you today?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to have you back. Tomorrow, as many of us know and have been anticipating, the Indiana area, the county, will move to yellow in the phase of pandemic recovery. Can you talk about what that will mean for businesses in the downtown area of Indiana?
Sure. For a lot of our retail shops, it means they can finally be open. So a lot of our shops along Philadelphia Street can resume in-person services. They will still offer delivery and curbside as some of them had been doing, but you can go into Lucy Ray or some of our other Michael B. Shoes and shop in person. So that's the big thing. Those folks have been closed for a while. It unfortunately does not allow our salons and the more personal services, massage therapy, those sorts of things to open. And for restaurants, Tony, I don't think anything really changes for you in the yellow. It's still takeout, delivery, curbside. There has been some legislation put forward to allow outside dining and limited capacity dining during the yellow phase, but it's a bill. It's not something that has been signed into law.
Can you tell us what type of social distancing policies or mitigation policies that the retail stores have to follow, even though they're going into yellow? Is that still necessary?
Yes. The big ones are that they are limited to half their normal occupancy. So if your normal occupancy would be 40 people, you could only have 20 folks in there right now. And of course, masks are still recommended. Most of the shops I've heard from will be providing hand sanitizer. Some of them have marked off 6 foot, spaces within the store. Some of them have put up plexiglass at the checkout counter, or they've developed a touch-free payment system. It's something where we're not touching the same card. So they put a lot of thought into this, and they will, do the best they can to keep everyone safe.
I'm glad to hear that. Can you tell us a little bit about the supports the downtown Indiana will be offering the business owner as they reopen?
We'll continue to do what we have been doing, and that's sharing information as we become aware of it. Anything that might be useful to them. Also promoting the idea. We're putting together a spreadsheet right now that we'll be putting on our website, just to let people know who's reopening, when they're reopening, what their hours are. A lot of the businesses are modifying their hours from what they were traditionally. What special services, some of our businesses are offering appointments outside of their hours, so that if someone doesn't feel comfortable coming in during the public hours, they can make an appointment and come in and do some private shopping if that's how they feel more comfortable. So we're trying to get all of that out to the public as we can.
Switching gears just a little bit, I know last time we had you on, it was right after the first stimulus package had passed, and there was a large sum of money that was available to small businesses through either disaster relief or the PPP. And we got kind of mixed reviews. And since then, a second round has occurred. Can you tell us what's going on, or what the status is with businesses that you're hearing about in our downtown Indiana area?
Okay. Well, I certainly can't speak for everyone's experience. I know there has been some frustration with the various programs. Some people have had success, some people have not. For example, the Census Bureau just today released the results of a study, a survey that they did on the payroll protection program. And I have no reason to believe Indiana's numbers would be that much different from the national numbers, but 75% of all small businesses applied for PPP funds. And as of the beginning of May, less than 40% had received anything. So you can see right there what the difference is. Idle funds, I know a lot of people who have their application in the pipeline and who have gotten emails confirming that your application has been received. I do not personally know of anyone yet who's received the funds. I'm sure there are people who have. I just, I don't check on everyone every day. But an idle right now is just the only applications that can be put in right now for idle, which is the economic injury disaster loan, are agricultural businesses. So for the traditional small, that time period is over. But I think the takeaway is just, when people hear about all these different programs and all this different funding, don't assume that all the small businesses got all this money and that they're all okay and that you don't have to patronize them or that they don't still need support. A lot of them didn't get money. I mean, we all know the unemployment issues that we've had in Pennsylvania. There is unemployment for the self-employed, but again, the application process was delayed far longer than anyone thought it was supposed to be. And, some folks haven't gotten anything yet. So go easy on our local small businesses and support them any way you can, because there is a lot of money out there, but not everybody got it.
Okay. So I know you were talking about, businesses that were frustrated, that can't open, even though we're in the yellow, they have to wait until we're in the green, or they can only do business part way and not in their traditional manners. We're hearing about some authorities allowing businesses to open that are still in the red, or allowing counties or business people that are in the yellow to open and to go back to normal operations. What risks do businesses who don't follow the recommendations of the governor, what risks do they have if they open too quickly?
Well, I don't have any special insight into that. Downtown Indiana isn't a regulatory or an enforcement body, so I have the information that we all can access through the news, and that is that your licenses can be in jeopardy. The state controls a lot of licenses for various businesses, so ultimately, whether your local authority is going to enforce things, you could be in trouble with the state with regard to, PLCB licenses or other types of licenses. And your insurance is also a big concern. Opening against, recommendations or against the governor's orders could end in you losing your liability insurance or different, types of insurance you have. So it's something very serious to consider, because without licenses and without insurance, it would be very hard to operate a business. So those are real concerns people should think about.
I know you were talking again. I know you were talking again about supporting small businesses. How can people still support small businesses right now? I know you were talking about restaurants with takeout and pickup, which a lot of people have turned to just to help small businesses. The local teachers here, I think it was Tom's Pizza. It was a $9,000 or something for a pizza party for all of our kids. How are some other ways that people can support small businesses here?
Well, I think, when our small shops reopen, support them. If you need to buy a baby gift or something, think about going local. We do have still the Indiana County, it's on the screen now, the food establishments, who's open, who's not, what hours they're open, what they're offering. We're doing something similar for our downtown retail businesses, when they'll be open, et cetera. Buy a gift card if you're looking to the future. If it's not a great time for you to, spend money, you can still support them by going on social media, liking their posts, sharing their posts, encouraging other people to do the same. If you know about a great business, share it with your friends, share it on social media and say, hey, this is where I got a really, great experience, or I got a great gift here. So you can always just support them. Leave a positive review. Those reviews matter. So if you've had a good experience at one of the businesses, leave them a nice review that doesn't cost you anything, just a few minutes of your time. Just give them an encouraging word if you see them out. I don't know if Tony has anything else that he would recommend, but I think we just need to really think about where we're spending our money and supporting our local businesses, maybe rather than some of our larger chains and national businesses.
Great. I know it's so tempting sometimes to buy things online, and the process is so easy, right? But I also encourage people to shop local. All of our parks and our schools and teachers and things like that, the money that we give to businesses, their tax revenue comes back into the community. So I think it's real important to remember that as well. Thank you so much for being here, for telling us a little bit about what's going on in downtown Indiana, and hopefully we'll have you back as soon as we get moved to green. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
And welcome back. This is Center Webcast. We are back with Tony DeLoretto, the owner of Spaghetti Benders and a local organizer extraordinaire. I can't just say he is a business owner that truly, from my perspective, understands the meaning of community and is the best in the community in a lot of ways, beyond just having a fantastic restaurant over there. Welcome, Tony. How are you doing?
Good, Gerald. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Sure.
what you're doing.
Well, thanks for coming back. You have been really busy. We had you on one of our first episodes. Right after the closure, you started doing lunches for school-age kids, trying to fill in that gap to make sure that no kids go hungry. How is that going? Is that still happening?
Yeah, it's still happening. We're not doing as many as we were in the beginning, but we're still doing it. We were probably averaging maybe 35 to 40 the first 3 weeks. And now we're about 20, 25, but kids are still coming over, and we give them give them pasta with butter or red sauce, fresh bread. We give them a bottle of water and fruit. And we've had a lot of regulars, a lot of regulars coming in. So they get the same thing. Josh just says, boy, they never switch up. They just get the same thing every time. I say, hey, that's all right, as long as they're coming over.
As long as they're coming over, I mean, I think it's just great. People should definitely recognize, and that's in addition to the other food supports that are around town, like ICAP and Chevy Chase. Also, at Spaghetti Benders, people still can go to at noon for school age kids and pick up a lunch. I think it's just a wonderful community service you're doing.
Yeah, the communities really come together very strong, very very nicely, and at times like this, it really means a lot to see how people invest their time back into helping others. And there's been a lot of that around here, and it's nice to be a part of it.
So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how a business is going. Otherwise, I know you've been doing curbside. You've got a relatively good setup right there on Philly Street. You've got a big window of curbside. How has it been going over the last?
We've been hanging in there. With a lot of support. We've been here for 30 years, so almost 30 years, and a lot of people are still hanging in there with us, and they're supporting all the restaurants, not just us, and and we really appreciate it, because it's funny how how it evolves. As Dave was saying earlier, how you adapt, and like Lemania's Produce. So I've known Mike for 30 years. I've been doing business with him for 30 years, and the same thing happened. When we first opened up, we were basically a takeout restaurant, and then we had to adapt into a dine-in restaurant. Now we're doing it all over again. Now we're adapting back to being primarily takeout, exclusively takeout for right now. And it's just been and that's what, like Dave said earlier, it's just you have to adapt to survive, and that's what a lot of places are doing. And the community support has been really, really strong. And just to tell you about the impact of a small business has on a community, because you can share social media posts and order and takeout, but they say the average, let me read this, the average of 2/3 of every dollar spent at small businesses in the United States stays in a local community. Consumers' local impact could be significant, very significant. And then furthermore, every dollar spent at a small business creates an additional 50 cents in local business activity as a result of employees spending and business purchasing local goods and services. That's according to a small business economic impact study from American Express. But that's, small businesses mean so much to communities, and especially our community, where we're out on the perimeter of everything else. We're not Pittsburgh, we're not Greensburg, we're not Altoona, we're not we're not up in Cambria County. We're on the outskirts, and we have to be innovative to keep business strong.
So I think that's completely right, and I think there's a huge importance for small businesses to be doing well here. Can you talk about? Have you had any experience with some of the federal relief monies that have been out there, like the payroll protection program that Linda and Sybil were talking about. Have you had any experience with any of these programs?
Yes, yes, and I am
have they
fortunate.
been-
I'm fortunate enough to be one of the few that were able to get on board with it, and and that's there for God forbid we don't have a setback, that we keep on going in the right direction. But it's really and I feel for those other businesses that haven't got that opportunity to have that backup in case you need it, and it really needs to be there for them, because it provides a lot of security and a lot of relieves a lot of anxiety, because even business is not normal right now, obviously, and everybody's surviving with less, and it's like I said, for me, I don't know, I mean, I was just fortunate. I got it done, I got it in, I communicated with people, and I was one of the few that were able to the fortunate ones that they're able to get that through. And I hear about, and I can't imagine the anxiety I would feel if I didn't have that backup support.
Yeah. I think the numbers that Linda just told us, 70% of small businesses here in the county applied. Only 40% were God, I think that that really puts into perspective what you're talking about, some of that anxiety that a lot of small businesses have to be feeling with reopening, and likely is why we see some of this frustration of people saying, well, I'm gonna risk opening anyway. That comes from that anxiety of folks just not, only 40% being getting that relief is a small number. I wish that was higher.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully they get it back on the second round, and they make a connection there.
Yeah. So moving to yellow, how does that look for restaurants? And then what does reopening look like for you? I think it doesn't mean much for you.
It doesn't mean much to us at all. As far as it's still it's more the same. But, we'll continue to adapt, continue to to provide for the children that need assistance, and the Chevy Chase. As you know, I'm on the board of Chevy Chase, and they've been doing a significant job in the community. Man, it's an honor to be a part of that group too. And it's just, like I said, going back to it, it's just a matter of everybody being kind to each other, and reaching out, and lending a helping hand, and then just helping each other through with whatever they can help with. It's just it's a community thing, and like I said earlier, it's nice to see us come together and be productive, and be assuring to other people.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big takeaways from doing this program and talking to people is the way that the community really has come together in all facets to make sure folks are not hurting. I am nonetheless looking forward to tomorrow for some folks to be able to have some relief, for yellow to be happening, some folks to have some relief, because even in those sports that there's been some boiling over here in the community, so it'll be good to be able to relieve some of that tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, another thing too that I've been doing every Sunday night, Gerald. I've been I read children's stories Sunday night. I don't know if your kids, so get on the Spaghetti Benders Facebook, and I think I've done 7 or 8 stories so far. So I'm enjoying it. Something I do every Sunday night, and there's something there. But there it is. It's fun, and it's like and there's a lot of people surprisingly, there's been a lot of reception for it. So I'm going to continue to do it as long as people are watching it.
It's a lot of fun. I have young kids. I've got a 9 and an 11-year-old, and we're always looking for other people to put them to bed. That's great.
Yeah, well, send them over. Send them over. We'll take care of it.
That's great. That's great. Well, Tony, I really appreciate you coming back and giving us an update. Everything else you want to let folks know?
No, just like I said, just to be safe and be kind, and then Bryant, tell your mom and dad I said hello, because I know they come over quite a bit, and tell them I miss them, and hopefully we'll see them sooner than later. And then like Gerald, thank you for having me on, and it was a pleasure to be here. Great.
Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate you being on.
My pleasure.
And you'll come back again? I bet you'll come back?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. We will see you soon. And we're back here with Center Radio. I'm going to hand it right over to Sybil. You can really tell Brandon's not here, can't you?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We have Bryant Pinder. He is Director of Youth Services at the local YMCA here in Indiana County. We are, I guess as a parent, I have a lot of questions. Everyone misses the YMCA. It's been shut down, we know, since March 16th. So just starting out, how has the YMCA been helping people, helping members stay healthy during the pandemic? I know for myself, there are about 2 classes offered online, and I take a couple of those through your instructors. One's Tracy Red, and yep, yep. So what other things are going on that the YMCA is doing to help people stay healthy here in the community?
You know, we are trying to do as much as possible, which everybody is, which is extraordinary. I think the one great thing about our why that we have been working on is not staying one-dimensional, and I think that kind of makes everybody kind of do that with this pandemic, kind of branching out into new ventures. And I think this is something that we were able to do. So not only, like you said, about our classes that we do, of course, as you can see the schedule, we post that every week. This week, I know we are doing why members give back. And so we are asking for all of our Y members to help donate different cards, supplies, money, finances, all that stuff like that to our local services, our firemen, our police officers, everybody to continue to give back. I think we did something today with that. So that's extraordinary things that we're doing. We also have Heroes of Indiana County. So we're continuing to shine light on people who are just making great marks to help out our community. So those are some great things that we're doing. We are contacting our Silver Sneaker members. So these are individuals who are 65 and up, just to continue to stay engaged with them, making sure that they're doing great. We provide classes for them actually as well, so that they can continue to stay mobile and continue to stay as fit as they can within their homes. We provide educational things, as well as what Mr. David said. We try to do reading. We provide resources, academic resources for K to 2nd grade. We're working on doing some Zoom meetings with some of our members to provide that as a program. Trying to think, we're doing a lot. We are trying to touch every base. We do our mindfulness stuff. We still do our nutrition classes. We are still trying to promote healthy recipes. We have our CEO and as well as other directors such as myself, just continuing just to post videos of things that we're doing to stay encouraged, and to encourage our members, inspire them, challenge them, motivate them, to continue to strive, even if we're, confined inside of our homes. We're trying to touch every base that we can. And so it's been a challenge, but it's also been a great reward because we are reaching and we're doing things that we generally could not do when we were physically inside of the YMCA. So we're really able to, adapt and even kind of enhance our programs, enhance our YMCA to reaching new heights that we couldn't do if we weren't shut down. So, we're doing a lot, even though we all wish that we were physically back in the YMCA. So
I know they say that, that necessity is the mother of invention. It sounds like the YMCA is like so many of our faith organizations and nonprofit organizations and small businesses taking advantage of social media. And we have to, thank the good Lord for social media, because without it, we've been getting a lot of free services, Zoom and things like that, to where we can stay in touch with each other. And I'm glad to hear that the YMCA is doing so much to still stay in contact with members in the general community. Now that we're moving from red to yellow, what does that look like for the YMCA? Because I know it's multifaceted. It has some areas that are childcare, So that would fall under the childcare regulations. And then there's also the fitness and the swimming pool. So what does it look like for the YMCA under yellow?
You know, not much is changing with us, unfortunately, with us being in the yellow, because of a lot of our programs are in the green phase. But that doesn't stop us from continuing to prepare for the green phase. I think that's really the biggest thing that we're doing now, knowing that we're progressing from red to yellow. And now, since we're in yellow, really trying to game plan for green, and hopefully that comes, soon within the summer. We're hoping that we can get a permit to offer our summer classes and our summer program. So that includes camp. That's something that we are, still being very hopeful to obtaining. It's not something that we don't believe that we cannot make possible, I should say. So that's something that we're doing. But of course, we're kind of waiting for the Department of Health to kind of spearhead what we need to do. So, a lot of that stuff is going to look different. Our fitness centers, of course, that stuff is going to look a little bit different. How we schedule classes, those things are going to look different. There's going to be a lot of, gaps in between our classes where we're going to have to do some sanitation and clean, the weights and clean the fitness center, wipe off the gym, clean up the basketballs, our rec center where a lot of our teens, they migrate in there. We're going to have to do some times where we're going to have to either ask them to help and be a volunteer and a servant to help us clean stuff off that they enjoy, engaging with their peers. So a lot of things right now in yellow haven't changed for us, but it's preparing us to get ready for the yellow.
So if I'm hearing you right, I'm hearing that although it is a youth camp, you're not under the same regulations as daycare centers that can open now. So that your summer camp is pretty much on the same realm as the fitness center as far as gyms, and you can't really plan for summer camp until you go green, correct? Am I hearing you?
Yes, for the most part, yeah. So we've been preparing for summer camp since January, and we actually are still continuing to plan for summer camp even as of today. With hiring staffing and preparing trainings and talking to our families to let them know, we still anticipate to having a summer camp because we know our families need that, especially with moving into the yellow. We know that families that are going to be going back to their businesses are going to need childcare. And if a lot of childcare isn't open, we're working with, talking with the state and different people, representatives that we need to talk to let them know, like, we want to provide this service to help out our community. So it won't look, like a normal, camp, or it won't look kind of like a normal childcare facility, because of course, everybody's going to have their mask on, things of that nature. But we are hoping to provide some type of service in that childcare realm. And so, though right now it kind of looks a little iffy, we're still keeping our fingers crossed and staying hopeful for those things.
Yeah, because I know it's a little disappointing because I know for parents to have to go back to work. I have a friend, she works for a local business here, and they are following social mitigation, and they're one of the businesses that had people work from home. Well, they said by June 1st, even though they have 2 weeks still at home, they're going back to their office June 1st, and she has no idea where she's going to put the kids. And there's limited daycare services here in Indiana, especially for kids that are older than 5 years of age. So
Yeah.
I was just kind of wondering also on a personal level how that's how does that affect summer plans? Will you offer other youth programs then, other than childcare or camps or anything like that during the summer?
Yeah, so we're hoping that we can continue to offer, our youth sports programs and stuff like that. We're also have a specialty camp, so that's dealing with archery and fishing, things of that nature. We're still hoping to be able to promote and to actually have and run those type of programs. I think a lot of it, it is up in the air, as we all know, but we're not crossing those lines out to say that we are not doing that. Even with our pool, we're working right now. Our CEO actually and our associate executive, they are actually organizing a team with other people within the state to figuring out the best and most effective way to serve our different YMCAs and facilities that have pools, because we want to be able to provide that service. Of course, you can't wear a pool, you can't wear a mask in the pool. So you also, it's going to be really hard to be 6 feet away as you're swimming, so those things are going to be kind of the challenges. But, our YMCA, we're continuing to find the loopholes. We're continuing to find the cracks that we can be able to serve, because that's what our why, we drive off of, being able to be a servant to our community. So, yeah, so we're really trying to find different ways to be engaged within our community.
Again. Well, thank you for having us as we leave. I'd just like, if someone wants to join the YMCA or wants to become a part of your new innovative programming, where would they look to get that information?
So they can contact Jessica Walker. So that'll be all one word, Jessica Walker at icymca.org. She is in charge of our membership, and so she will be able to help to pinpoint you to whatever services that you're seeking questions for, as well as for what it looks like if you want to become a member of our YMCA, different things like that. So she would be probably the hub right now of pinpointing who to talk to, and of course, looking at our social media, specifically Facebook. A lot of our programs and events and resources come from that Facebook page. So if you have questions about anything, you can just go straight to our Facebook page, and somebody will also direct you to wherever you need to go.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. Perhaps we can have you back again once things get rolling and we're back into green.
Sure. Let me know.
Wonderful. Sure thing. All right. Take care.
You too.
And we're back here for Center Webcast. This is episode 22. We are here at the end. I appreciate folks that have stuck around. We'll do a chance for a little bit of feedback or reaction from our guests. But before we do that, I, from our center board, wanted to make sure to put in a plug about voting. I heard a recent message from our Commissioner Sherene Hess to make sure that folks recognize that voting in person on June 2nd will be safe. The folks at the county will be taking a lot of new protective measures, including plexiglass guards, sanitizer, gloves, masks, etc., and will provide a pen for every individual that they can take with them. So that's for in-person voting. There is also an opportunity for mail-in voting as well. If folks are interested to do mail-in voting, they should register by May 18th. That's just 4 days. That's just 4 days away. People can go to votespa.com. I think, Quintina, I sent you the wrong link. But votes, that's got the important dates as well. May 18th, that's just 4 days. If you want to register to vote, you can do that at votespa.com. You must be registered as either Republican or Democrat. You can change your registration at that time as well. So please do go and vote, either in person June 2nd or by mail. So let's open it up. Linda and Dave and Tony, Bryant, Sybil, I feel like, first of all, we have like this really strong downtown Indiana contingent. I love it. But do folks have reactions to kind of where we're at? Oh, I'm sorry. Eric just told me May 18th is the deadline to register. Mail-in deadline is May 26th. I'm glad I got some backup out there. Thanks for Eric Parker's our engineer out there.
Eric.
So I just wanted to throw it back and see if there's anything else we want to talk about a little bit about reopening, about going into yellow. Any reactions from folks that are still here?
I just wanted to say that during my segment, I don't want to discourage anyone for applying for assistance. As I said, the EIDL program is now just for agricultural businesses, but if you already had an application in, it is still in the pipeline on a first come, first served basis. So you could get that funding. PPP applications are still being taken by some banks. For example, InFirst is still taking them. So don't feel like, the numbers are so dismal that you shouldn't even try. Reach out to your local bank, ask them what other programs might be available, reach out to the Center for Entrepreneurial Opportunities, the CEO, which is part of the County Office of Planning and Development, ask them what other programs might be available. Don't give up. There is still some money out there. It's just that it's not as free flowing as perhaps people outside small businesses think it might be.
Sure. And so folks could go to their own local bank if they don't necessarily have, there are some very small businesses that don't necessarily have a local bank. And if you don't have an account at, say, InFirst and you're still interested, can you still go and ask them about it?
I think it's still worth a conversation. They are an SBA designated bank. They do small business loans. It's really individualized to each bank now, which ones are still accepting applications, which ones are not, and what their policies are as far as accepting them. So I would definitely reach out to them and ask and see what you have to do to get into the application process.
It's worth an application. Dave, I wanted to ask you, so we deal with parking a lot. You and I have had conversations about parking, and Dave, you once had a really great quote. You said that Indiana doesn't really have a parking problem. We have a perception of a parking problem. And I think that's totally accurate. Through this pandemic, we've done a number of different things to relieve some parking restrictions, and nonetheless, we still get a lot of hate mail about what we're doing on parking. How's Blairsville doing? Have you guys made many adjustments in terms of enforcement and regulations throughout the pandemic here?
The most noticeable adjustments have been those businesses, for instance, Blairsville Pharmacy, agreeing with Envy Bistro, that are using that curbside takeout. Those meters have been blocked so that they're not paying a fee to use them. And that if you needed to pick up your pharmacy, or whatever, you can kind of in and out. Trying again to enhance that experience. That great, we're doing curbside, but we're making it harder. So that'd be one of the most noticeable things that you'll notice with some of the parking being accessible for those pickups.
Yeah. Parking is important. As a biker, I don't always understand, but I know parking is important. Any other comments out there that we can bring up here as we wrap up?
Yeah, we just want to make sure that we did not give people the dates of when they can request a mail-in ballot. You can still request a mail-in ballot up to May 26th. So it's May 26th, you can still request a mail-in ballot. And if you want one, you can go to www.votespa, that's VOTESPA.com. Paper forms are usually available different places. But here, you can also go to the courthouse and to request it. I just had an aunt who's a sometimes voter in person, but she really, really loves the idea of mail-in ballots. And she called me and I was shocked. She was like, Sybil, I got this thing about I could request a mail-in ballot. Is it true? And I said, yes. And I explained everything to her. And so the process is done. She requested her ballot. She's waiting for it to come in the mail. She's going to send it off. So I think if you're one of the people, she has a sickly husband. She doesn't like to be out and about in the community too much because she doesn't want to bring back anything to him. So if you're one of those people that are, trying to practice social distancing, mitigation efforts, anything like that, a mail-in ballot would be your ticket. Also, it's just easy. You can fill out your ballot, put it in the mail, and then you're done. Don't have to worry about getting into line, standing in line, waiting in line, or anything. So,
and it's a secure system, right? This is a secure way to vote.
Yes, it is. 100%. The military's been doing it forever.
Yep, it's a very secure way to vote. So that's fantastic. I think that's our show. It's Sybil. What do we have for next Tuesday? What do we have for next week?
Have more
we're still working on this, right?
Yeah, but we have a few small business people coming. I know Quintina's going to join us. She's one of those unfortunate businesses who haven't been able to do anything during, there's no curbside or anything for salons. So she's still shut down. She's going to talk about that a little bit. We have some other downtown businesses that's willing to come on and talk about what they've gone through since they've been shut down, what the process is like for them. And we're going to talk a little bit more to downtown businesses. So that's going to be very helpful, I think.
Dave, do you think we can help us find some folks in Blairsville that could let us know how they're dealing with things down there?
Hey,
Just
Dave,
ask,
what
I'm
about
sure that I've
Revelia?
got- I'm sorry, go ahead, Quinn. Sybil.
What about Revelia? Is that how you pronounce the restaurant? I keep hearing about
You
it.
know what? I actually have a sandwich waiting right now for me when I get off from Rebellious. I'd love to come on.
Yes,
You know, interestingly enough, if you've been in that downtown area, you know, Market Street Resale did an online auction. He'd be happy to come on. You know, I know there's been a big lack of quality Chinese food. China King is back up.
Yes. What happened? Everyone's talking about that. I mean, like, I have my ex-husband shipping it in for me from Lake Trobe when he comes to get the kids. I'm like, bring the Chinese with you.
So you can, yeah, I know that they just opened up.
What's up with that?
They opened back up today. I went to two other things I just did want to make a point. Bringing on small businesses, absolutely. I'm sure I can find a few that are very well spoken. Would love to talk about the climate in downtown. I did want to mention also, if you've noticed on my Facebook page or others, Blairsville has just made available 36 lots that we're selling in the Diamond area for business and or residential. I think 2 lots have already sold. So that's interesting. You know, again, as we see the pandemic, hopefully we come out of it, we can see some upgrowth there. And the other thing I did want to mention that last summer, a very popular event in downtown Blairsville was the Blairsville Hunger Games. We have canceled it this year, but have hopefully postponed it to bring it back in September. In those planning stages, it was going to be twice the size, more vendors, more activities. So again, you know, if you can come on, we can talk about some of the things that we're hoping to redo. And by all means, I'm sure there'd be some downtown businesses that would love to come in. Sybil, I highly recommend the Pittsburgh turkey sandwich.
What is it? The Pittsburgh turkey? Do they have anything vegetarian? They have vegetarian sandwiches?
They have salads. They do. And they have good desserts.
Why do people always ask that?
They can special order.
Yeah.
I live with a
Hey,
vegetarian. Vegetarians hate here, and it's just egg salad.
Yeah. Well, I have a question. So did you say China King is open or isn't open?
China King is open.
Down in Blairsville.
Down in Blairsville on Market Street. Just today.
So we must wonder about, okay.
I've
Also,
one more thing to ask you about, Dave, and ask if anybody else can chime in too. And I think this is it's an idea I've been thinking about from wearing my Boro hat and wearing sort of a, you know, thinking about how to build Indiana, how to make Indiana this cool. We all know Indiana, Blairsville, the same way. We've had brighter days, and we are all sitting on this call trying to figure out how to build these communities, and you know, we all know the challenges ahead of us, and we're all working our butts off. And you guys probably more than I do. One of the things I've been thinking about.
We've talked in the past. Now, how can we link our bike trails? From Blairsville to, you know, Homer Center to Indiana. You know, the bike paths are still open. The river's still open. You can still dock your kayaks and stay.
I want to get down there. I want to connect this. One thing I was thinking about, though, is that we have an opportunity here. A lot of people right now are working from home. Lots and lots of folks are working from home, and they're realizing they're going to work from home. And that may happen after the pandemic when people can go back. They might say, hey, well, turns out I can work from home. And when I think about, you know, what are opportunities for communities like Blairsville, communities like Indiana, to attract people to live there, we don't necessarily have a lot of jobs that are opening up, but we do have opportunities for folks who do want to maybe work from home and commute from Pittsburgh. And so, you know, trying to think about how to build our communities as a commuter place, as a place that you can work from home, because it is, you know, nobody here's got to be convinced how awesome our communities are. Small, walkable, lots of things around. Really are great if you are able to, if you have that opportunity to work from home from some position. Have you thought about sort of moving forward? How do you take this pandemic and find the opportunities?
Well, I can tell you that I've proven to myself how effective I could be working from home. Because again, you know, you had to, and then realized you're right. You know, you can work from a community such as Blairsville, Indiana, within an hour, hour and a half, be in Pittsburgh, within 20 minutes, be in Monroeville. With the added attractions of the rivers and the trails and the, you know, and still low tax bases, you know, low housing costs, some beautiful buildings. But again, you know, as we move through this, I think, as I mentioned before, necessity kind of gets us to the next stage. How do we band closer together? How do we use bike paths to connect, you know, Blairsville, Homer Center, Indiana, and so on and so forth? How do we connect our rec centers with S&T Arena and the Blairsville and the YMCA? How do we find ways that, you know, it can be done?
We need to create an identity for Indiana County and our community. That's where, and that might be the angle to go. Maybe get some high-tech jobs coming here. But you need an identity. We need to have a reason for people to want to be here and to come here. And I think, you know, I think it should be tourism at some point. Just, I mean, I think that's the angle we got to take. It's not industry. It's not manufacturing. So what is it? And that's what you guys are talking about now. It's that's what brings people to this area, like for opportunities like that, to be able to enjoy the outdoors and enjoy the atmosphere.
I agree, Tony. And I think the big piece is just, you know, the collaboration between all these communities. We're stronger as one, as we're seeing with this COVID, you know, whatever that idea or identity that we find, working together. You know, I got to be honest, Gerald, I'm thrilled to be on, you know, a cast that you kind of said, you know, people have kind of pointed the finger and said it's 1570. Well, guess what? It's not. And I'm glad to see that, you know, that idea collaboratively, we're all in this together. That's one thing you continue to hear through COVID-19. Even if it was COVID nothing, you know, we're all in this together to promote Indiana County.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys being on. I really do. I don't want to take up more of your time. I think, you know, through this, the thing that's just been, has been completely so apparent is the way folks have come together. And I think you're exactly right, Dave. There's opportunities that we see here moving forward that, you know, we can be better. That's our episode 22 for us. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody coming on. Have a great day. We'll be back on Sunday for a little bit of a re-show of what we've seen here. And then we'll be back next Tuesday with some more small businesses. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone leave it.
Is it off live?
Are we offline? Where's Bryant? Is he still there? Hey, Bryant. Is he
Yeah.
still there? Hey, G, are we off?
No. Hold on.